Welcome to the another exciting episode of the Agency Insider Show. I'm your host Navneet Kaushal, and today we have a guest who needs no introduction in the world of SEO, business, and digital marketing. Kasra Dash. Kasra is an SEO expert, entrepreneur, and link building specialist who has helped countless businesses rank higher and scale their online presence. In this episode, we are diving into SEO strategies, business growth hacks, and the power of networking. Buckle up because this is going to be an episode packed with insights. Kasra, welcome to the show. How's everything going for you today?
Hello, thanks for having me. Yeah, everything's going well. How are you?
I'm good. So I've seen you speak at SEO events worldwide. What's the most exciting things happening in your world right now?
So the most exciting thing that's happening is probably growth and obviously learning more about AI. Like I feel like every day that we wake up, there's something new. There's a new tool. There's a new process of writing content. There's a new way of doing outreach. There's a new way of internal linking, for example. So
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me is just getting to grips and keeping up to date with AI, and obviously just keeping the team up to date on like SOPs and retraining them and just making our agency just that little bit better.
Okay. And if you had to describe your SEO journey into 3 words, what would it be?
Into 3 words, okay. Absolutely fucking painful. That would be the 3 words. Like a lot of people think that running an agency or setting up a business is easy. It's definitely not. Like it's definitely got, it has its highs. It's definitely got its lows. So I think with anything in life, it's probably just a learning curve. So just make certain that you're learning along the way and that you're improving the SOPs, you're improving the systems, you're improving the training, and yeah, you're definitely going to learn from the actual experience.
Okay. And if I have to ask you, I'm sure same question 2 years back before the helpful update, I'm sure the answer would have been a little different or same.
The thing is that like I always see it as you're always learning. Like even before the HCU, right? We had the snippets update. I don't know if you remember that, like where previously there was just absolutely no snippets and everyone thought, oh, Google's going to start displaying snippets. They're going to start stealing clicks. So we had that. And then even before that, we had like the Google Maps update where they went from only showing, I want to say it was like 2 Google Map packs to showing like 5. I want to say at one point. So like we've always had issues, but it just depends how you see them. Are you going to be a little bitch and cry about it, or are you just going to actually learn the latest and greatest algorithm and figure out how to rank and earn in that algorithm? Because I'm telling you now, if you're not gonna learn, and if you're just going to pack your stuff and be like, actually no, this is too hard, then yeah, you probably deserve to not be earning in SEO. That's how I see it.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You have built and ranked hundreds of websites. So what are the core principles of ranking on page 1 of Google today?
The core principles, and this is going to sound really boring, good content, good links. Like there's no secret formula. You can go and watch hundreds of my videos online, right? The whole thing that I teach on YouTube is get good content, whether it's using AI, whether it's using a content brief, whether it's using a content writer and a proofreader and an editor, right? If that's your setup, that's your setup. If you want to go and use AI, you can do. Just figure out a way to scale out good quality content that is optimized for CRO purposes, that's also optimized for SEO. Make certain that you're doing internal links, and then just build actual backlinks through to your website. And I know that probably doesn't sound sexy and black hat and all this type of stuff, but that's honestly the truth when it comes to ranking.
Okay. Now, with Google recent algorithm updates, of course, how can agencies future-proof their SEO strategies?
So when it comes to agencies, it depends, because I get asked this question a lot. If you are truly a good SEO agency and you know how to rank and you're not scamming your clients, because there are a lot of agencies that will charge their clients $1,000 or £500 or whatever a month, and they're just not doing any work. But let's say you're actually one of the good agencies that does exceptional work. You're actually getting client, or you're getting leads for your actual client and stuff. One thing that you could definitely do is try and build out your own assets. So let's say you're working with an actual plumbing business and you're generating them, let's say 25, 30 inquiries via their own website. Why don't you build your own rank and rent website and rent that website out to them? Because at that point as well, you're able to make that customer, make that client a little bit more sticky. You're not just doing SEO for their website, but they might actually have like 4 or 5 rank and rent websites from you as well. At that point, they are very much reliant on you. You're not just an SEO agency that they can just spin off after 6 or 12 months and then go with another SEO agency that gives them a better price. So at that point, you're doing the SEO for their website, but you might also be renting out, let's say, 2 or 3 websites to them as well. And that's how I would potentially look to future-proof an agency. The other thing as well is, like, with the HCU and stuff, there's not that many local websites that got hit with the HCU. It's more so the affiliate sites that got hit. There's obviously like the Google Maps update that got recently added in, and I believe like a lot of GMBs and stuff like that got impacted. But apart from that, like that's what I would be doing to like future-proof an actual agency.
Okay. And you have spoken about link building for industries like gambling and adult sites quite often. Now, how does your approach differ for these from traditional niches?
Yeah, so when it comes to iGaming SEO or link building in the iGaming space, I always say that iGaming or gambling SEO, as some people call it, as being like one of the top 3 or 4 industries. Like you've probably got like gambling, you've got porn, you have got CBD, and you've probably got like the cannabis niche or like dating as well. That's probably like the top 4 or 5 that comes to mind, right? Those all have one thing in common. You need to be like what I like to call as being like the top 1% of SEO, especially if you're trying to do it in like UK markets and stuff. So what I mean by that is you need to have like really good content. Your topical authority needs to be on point. You need to make certain that you're actually covering the topic in its entirety. You've got good content depth. Your content's just really good, right? Then from a link building point of view, you also need to make certain that you've got a lot of homepage links. You need to make certain that you've got a lot of branded links. You need to make certain that you've got tiered links as well. So again, a lot of people go and buy guest posts, or they'll go and buy digital PR, for example. But if you go and spend like, let's say 7 or 8 grand on a digital PR campaign, and let's say you go and land 25 links with that digital PR campaign, you've got a link on the Forbes or Daily Mail and Telegraph and stuff like that. Now, what you need to remember is like Daily Mail and Telegraph and Forbes and stuff like that, they've got hundreds of thousands of pages indexed. So if you're not doing, like, for example, tiered link building, so if you're not building links to your links, then again, that's another thing that like a lot of people in the gambling CBD space do. So that's another thing that you're missing out on. You just need to have a way more holistic approach when it comes to gambling SEO. That's how I see it. Like, it's not just go and build a website and it ranks. You need to do like YouTube, you need to do videos, you need to rank your images, you need to just be more holistic with your actual overall approach.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned the importance of content diversity in one of your previous talks. Now, can you elaborate on this and explain how it impacts SEO performance?
Yeah, so I believe you might be referring to the talk that I done in Saigon last year. And that's when I was like talking about like having like breaking down your website into like more of a funnel. Mainly because like Google doesn't just want you to specifically talk about like bottom of the funnel articles. It wants you to talk about like top of the funnel. It wants you to talk about middle of the funnel. And the whole process of that is that it's just a lot easier for first of all, for Google to understand that you're actually in 40, but for second of all, for people visiting your website. I don't know if can I screen share?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yep.
if I just share my screen, I've actually got the diagram here that I showed up on stage for people to actually understand. I think you should be able to see, right?
Let me just put it on the stage.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So this is the actual user journey this applies to like so many websites. It's not just, in this case, we've just used like an e-com store, but it doesn't matter if you're an e-com store, an affiliate website, if you're selling credit cards, if you're a local HVAC company, if you're a dentist, whatever the case is, any good website that ranks online follows this, and they might not even understand that they're actually following this, right? So in this case, we've got top of the funnel, which is like easy cake recipes. So for example, if me and Naveed started a bakery website, right? Or an e-commerce store selling cake mixers, this easy cake recipe for beginners, this would generate us absolutely zero money every single month. People that are searching that, people that are actually landing on this page, all they would care about is just getting a cake recipe and then bouncing off of our website. Then you've got middle of the funnel articles, and that's like best cake baking tools, for example. Now, somebody that's searching that, we would probably earn not crazy amounts of money, but we would earn a few pound or a few dollars from that every single month. But then this is our big money maker, the bottom of the funnel. So choosing the right stand mixer. And that's like, I don't know if you know what a stand mixer is, but that's like maybe like a £500-700 product. So if we're selling like even 10 of these, for example, a month, that's like 5K. We've not done too bad from our e-com store. But if we were to flip this on its head, right, if we were to completely change this to, like, for example, dentists, right? So let's say you're in local, you want to rank a dentistry website. The top of the funnel might be like, is Invisalign worth it? Then you've got middle of the funnel, and then in middle of the funnel might be like Invisalign versus braces, right? Somebody that's searching that, they're a little bit more inclined to actually inquire with us. Then you've got like bottom of the funnel, and then bottom of the funnel would be something along the lines of Invisalign Manchester, or like Invisalign Specialist Manchester. Somebody that's searching that, they're ready to actually inquire with us and actually turn into a lead. So literally any website that's ranking online, it doesn't matter if they are knowingly doing this or if they've accidentally done this. This is what Google wants from you, mainly because it's like, it just makes more sense. And this is also how you build out like topical authority as well. You don't just want bottom of the funnel. Now, also another thing as well, bottom of the funnel is typically where the most money is, but it's the hardest ones to rank for as well. And then obviously orange is a little bit easier, green's obviously the easiest, green gets the most searches. Then further down the funnel that you get less searches, but the intent's a lot higher as well. But yeah, this is the diagram that I follow when it comes to ranking any website, and it does really well.
Okay. All right. Now, there has been a lot of debate about AI generated content. So can AI content rank well, or is it just another hype cycle?
So it can definitely rank, but if you think you can go into like ChatGPT and say like, hey, write me an SEO article about networking, or write me an SEO article about link building, right? It's just going to come back with like the already existing stuff that Google already knows. Now, that's not an issue, but it's also like how you structure the content. Like you've got micro and macro content, like which keywords are shown up higher up in the content. Like a lot of SEO tools that actually give you like an SEO grade for your content and stuff. What they do is they'll give you like an SEO score 0 to 100. And if you give that content piece to like even an actual content writer, let's just not even talk about AI content for the time being, right? If you go and give the article or the Surfer SEO link or the phrase link or whatever you use to write your content with to an article writer, what they will do is they will just push as many keywords it has on the right hand side within that content, and they'll try and get you a high SEO score. Now, typically speaking, that it's okay to have like a 100 out of 100 on surfer or phrase or whatever, but you should actually be using the keywords in the correct places. So if you've got like a subheading, for example, maybe second subheading down, and it says like, how much do solar panel costs, or how much are solar panels, right? And if you don't mention the cost within that subheading, but you've got the cost somewhere else in the content, yes, you might have a green surfer score, but it just doesn't make sense. So it's also to do with like where you're actually putting the most important keywords, where you're putting the LSIs, where you're placing the secondary keywords. When you start doing that, and if you're prompting AI to actually take that into consideration when it comes to writing your articles, then yes, it can definitely rank. But if you're just saying like, hey, write me a 6,000 word article on how to do outreach, then you're going to struggle.
Okay. So now, what's one SEO myth you would like to debunk today?
That disavows don't work.
They work.
So this is like a common misconception in the SEO space, and people say this a lot with when it comes to like disavows and stuff. I'm actually working on a case study that should be live in the next couple of weeks, along with Vebaf from Rankwatch and also the Surfer SEO guys. But basically, what we actually done is we went to a very familiar guest post directory site, so like you can go in, log in, get a load of guest posts and stuff like that. And we basically scraped out like 6,000 of their website, and we looked at their traffic loss of their actual websites, and we analyzed 650 websites that were hit by the HCU. And there was a direct correlation between the toxic links that they had from like guest post farms, all of like the guest post directories and stuff like that, to the amount of traffic the HCU sites have been actually impacted by. So if they had, let's say, 85% of toxic links from the guest post directory, then they'd also lost 65% in actual traffic. So there was like it's a little bit of a crazy correlation case study, and I tend to say like correlation doesn't mean causation, because in some cases there can be other factors. Google might just hate your website, for example, but in this case, like over the 550 HCU websites that we analyzed, and the 6,000 websites that Vebaf's team actually analyzed, there was like a very, very clear correlation there. I'm actually quite excited about that. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, there is a massive misconception when it comes to disavows, and they don't work. But the reason why people think they don't work is because they haven't disavowed the correct links. Like if you're just going to, like, for example, SEMrush, they've got a spam checker, and that's completely incorrect. What you should be doing is you should be analyzing your links using 3 different tools. This is our process, or actually 4 different tools. So for example, if you came to us and you said like, hey, I've got a huge website, travel space, it needs a disavow, I think what we would do is extract all of your backlinks from like Majestic, extract all of your backlinks from Ahrefs, extract all of your backlinks from SEMrush, and also use link research tools as well, and then analyze all of the links within link research tools and give like a toxicity score. We've also got like an internal API that we can actually use to like see if they're hacked links, if they're PBNs, if they're hidden links, if they're cloaked links, etc. And that gives us the most accurate disavow. Now, the reason why some people think that disavows don't work is because if we go back like 10 years ago, there's like certain tactics that you can use for generating toxic and spammy links. Like, I don't know if you remember, like 10 years ago, you could build like 150 links in an afternoon saying like, pedophile, or this guy's addicted to coke and stuff like that, right, is the actual anchors, right? And that typically would actually tank a lot of websites. Now, Google over the years has gotten like a lot smarter, And
Right.
those types of links Google actually does ignore. However, the guest post farms and stuff like that, Google doesn't ignore. There's a lot of like aggregator links Google doesn't ignore. What we found from the team with like RankWatch, like massive shout out to Vaibhav and his team. But what we found from the links that we analyzed, and there was like 6,000 of these links. It wasn't like a small amount. There was like 6,000 of these links, all linking to hundreds of thousands of sites. But what we found is like those were deemed as like guest post farms. And again, Google just didn't ignore those guest post farms. So if you had a link from those websites, it actually had a negative impact. It didn't even have just a neutral impact, it had an actual negative impact. So yeah, there's all of these things that you just need to be wary of. I know Google says that they ignore toxic links and bad links, and they do. They definitely do. Don't get me wrong. But there is a certain percentage of links that they just don't ignore. I don't know if it's maybe because they don't have the processing power. Maybe I don't know the honest answer, but there is definitely a percentage of links that Google doesn't ignore, and they just have a negative impact on your site.
Now let's talk about business growth and scaling an SEO agency. So before I jump into it, what exactly is Masterminders.com about?
Yeah, so the Masterminders is not an agency at all. It's actually a mastermind and a conference this year. But I've always said, and this has been like the biggest growth hack for my career, is just knowing the right people, being able to speak to the people that have already done what you're trying to achieve. It just fast tracks it. So for example, if I was trying to get into law firm SEO, let's say, there's probably two people that come to mind, or actually maybe three people that come to mind that I would probably want to speak to. Those three people would be Jason Hennessy, Ryan Stewart, and Victoria Altman, right? There's probably no three better people that come to mind. There's obviously a few others and stuff like that, but those are the three that I can just contact on WhatsApp and be like, hey, how did I get into this law firm SEO, right? But the biggest thing for me is like being able to like reach out to people that have already achieved what I've done or what I'm trying to do, and just tell them like, hey, where did you mess up? Like, can you help me fast track this? And typically speaking, the people that are at the top, the ones that have maybe even sold their SEO agency, or maybe they've hit like new highs, like Jason Hennessy, for example, he's I think he's doing like 20 million a year, right? If I hit him up with a message like saying like, hey, I want to get into like law firm SEO in the UK, for example, he would be an open book. I just know he would. Like he would share everything to me. So the Masterminders is where like I try to pick like the best of the best to come and speak in front of an audience. And also the second day, so it's the 27th is the conference, the 28th is the actual mastermind, where we've got like 60 people attending just for the mastermind, and then 150 for the conference. But the mastermind is like smaller groups of like 6 to 7 people, and then you get like 45 minutes each person, where you can like go over like one issue that you've got within your business, one thing that's working well for you, and then the rest of the people within the group can basically tell you like, hey, have you tried this for hiring, for example, or have you done this for scaling out your SEO team and stuff?
Okay, now you talk about scaling. Now you have built a successful SEO business. What were the biggest challenges in scaling you faced?
Biggest challenges when it comes to scaling. So I think the biggest challenges is making certain that your SOPs are set up correctly. Like a lot of people, they scale out staff and something goes wrong within the process, whether it's like the onboarding, whether it's the deliverables, whether it's like talking to the client, whatever that thing is, that issue is. And then they'll end up blaming the actual staff. Like if you can't really blame the staff if it was never noted down in the SOP. So for example, let's say I onboarded you as an SEO client, and then it got handed over to one of my VAs or my account manager or whatever the case is. They missed something out and it was just never documented. then it's not their problem. It's an SOP problem. Like you need to, when it comes to scaling out like anything really, you need to figure out if somebody makes a mistake within your business, is it a people problem or is it an SOP problem? If it's a people problem, then okay, let's do some further training with that person and let's try and figure out why they done that, and then let's hope it doesn't happen again. But if it's an SOP problem, it's not that person's fault. It could have been anybody's. It's technically actually my fault. It's not anybody else's fault, or it's whoever that wrote the SOP. Why didn't they mention that they need to message you 12 times a day, right? So if that's what's said on the SOP, that's what you require from that person. But if that SOP doesn't say like, hey, you need to message that person 12 times a day, then it's people's business.
Now, if I may ask, how many websites will be there in your portfolio currently?
Websites in the portfolio. I'm not going to give an exact number. It's over 150, under 1,000. So it's somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, we can settle on 650, I guess.
Yeah. We could definitely do that. Yeah.
Now, so my question was, how do you manage such a large network, and what advice would you give to someone looking to scale their online businesses?
So one thing I will definitely say is that you definitely don't need 650, 700, 800 websites. Just like, because in some cases people will say like, that's just unachievable. I've not even built out my first 10 websites. Like, how am I going to get to 650? I think to do this at scale and to do it profitably as well, because that's another thing that you need to bear in mind. Take a look and see like what's earning you the most money, whether it's lead generation, whether it's affiliate, whatever the case is. And then I'll also look at like the industry as well and see what type of industries is actually working for you. Because there's no point going into like locksmiths, for example, if you've never done locksmiths, or there's no point going into plumbers if you've never done plumbers. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. The second thing that I would recommend is just scale out averageness. Like try to perfect like a strategy, whether it's like a certain, like, I'll give you an example. I've been on a lot of these podcasts, right? And I get asked this exact same question all the time. And I try to like give a different answer every single time. But the fact of the matter is like we've got our own custom WordPress plugins. We've got our own custom WordPress theme. And that's took maybe 4 years to develop. So to be able to do what I've done, don't think that you can just do it out of the box. Like you can definitely do it with like the plugins on repository and stuff like that. But the issue that we had when we tried to just use the just like Elementor as our theme builder and like maybe using a couple plugins is websites get hacked. So if you're using like all of the plugins that are accessible to everybody else, and especially if they're being downloaded by hundreds of thousands of other users, people or hackers typically take a look at those websites and those plugins. They're like, right, okay, we're gonna try and hack this because we've got access. If we can, we've got access to 60,000 websites. It's not even just my 100 websites or my 500 websites, right? So try to build out a custom framework if you possibly can. Try and build out custom themes, try and build out a custom plugin. Doing everything custom will be a lot more easy and a lot more scalable for your staff. And then the third thing as well is like, don't just think that I'm the only person managing this. Like, I don't think I've logged into a website in the past, I don't know, 12 months. Like a lot of people think that I'm the one like managing it all, and it's not the case. Like you need a team to manage those amount of websites. Otherwise, like you're just going to be working 80 hours in a day. So yeah, just hire a team.
Okay. Now, are you a fan of WordPress for managing, or Webflow type themes builders will also do?
I mean, I've seen a few people move over to Webflow. I've never used Webflow. I don't particularly know much about it. I'm still WordPress only. WordPress for like local websites. I do prefer Shopify when it comes to like e-com stores.
Right.
So that's my preference.
Okay. Now, in today's world, what do you think should be a number one strategy for agencies to generate leads?
Agencies to generate leads. So I think the easiest way to generate leads for an agency is having a personal brand. So like doing what you're doing, building out a podcast, doing blogging.
Right.
I also think that doing like case studies help a lot. Like so many agencies that I speak to, like I do a lot of consultancy with like agency owners and stuff like that. People that are like trying to generate like 20 inquiries a month for their agency, 50 inquiries, 100. And you would be surprised if I told you, like, even some of the guys are generating like 60 inquiries a month for their agency. I look at their website sometimes and I'm like, hey, you've literally not even got any case studies on your website. Like, what's going on here? Like, go and get some case studies. It might not generate you more inquiries, but if you're already generating, let's say, 60 inquiries for your business and you're only converting like 6 of them, you might be able to, just by having like 3 case studies, you might be able to double that. You might be able to generate 60. It's still the same amount, but you might be able to close 12 of those as opposed to just the 6.
Okay.
And just doing that overnight, you've been able to double your actual monthly revenue. So yeah, like case studies is really important. Building a brand's really important. Those are probably the 2 biggest things that I would be focusing on in 2025. Like you can obviously spend money on ads and stuff like that, but again, I'm going to assume you're already spending money on ads and stuff.
Right. Now, client churn is also a big problem for agencies these days. So what strategies help you retain clients long term?
Communication. So like, don't just be an SEO agency. And I know that probably sounds a little bit cliche, or people obviously speak about it, but like, try and deliver something that other people can't. Like, there's like, if I search SEO agency in Manchester, there's probably like 25 SEO agencies that come to mind, right? But what makes you better than the other 25? Like, are you doing weekly calls with the client? Are you helping them with their CRO? Are you helping them? Are you being more of like a business mentor as well? And you're like, right, hey, we've been able to scale your website from 0 traffic to 3,000 hits a month. Also, by the way, on top of the 3,000 hits a month, we are able to help you with actually converting that traffic into customers as well. Like, have you ever thought about hiring a sales manager? Have you ever thought about X, Y, and Z? Like, if you're able to give people more advice, like the ultimate thing is like, how easy are you making somebody's life? Like, is it like, are they able to get the exact same service that you're delivering at a cheaper price somewhere else? Then if that is the case, then yeah, you are going to have a high churn rate of clients. But if, say, for example, now I'm not saying do this, by the way, but let's say I sign up a client and I cook them breakfast, and then I'm also doing their SEO, and I'm also emailing all of their customers, and I'm also keeping their products up to date on their website, and I'm also designing them a logo every Friday, right? And I'm also booking their flights for their family holiday the next month, right? That's like, probably, like, I'm saying that, and probably some people are watching this and they're like, actually, that sounds like a really good deal. I'll take Kaz up on that. But like, that's what I mean. Like, if you can make that person's life a lot easier, then they're always going to stay with you. Like, try and treat your clients almost like a friend, not just somebody that's paying you. Like, try and give them like friendly advice, like, hey, I know that we've been able to scale out this traffic, but have you ever thought about hiring a sales manager? We've just done that for our business. I think that you would be able to benefit a lot if you were to do this. Like, just give them advice. I feel like a lot of SEO agency owners and stuff like, they just don't do that. That's why they've got like high churn rates and stuff. But if you're almost acting as not just an SEO, but a business mentor, a friend, somebody that is cooking them breakfast every morning, you're just gonna have like a way lower churn rate when it comes to clients and stuff.
Okay. Now, hiring is tough in the SEO industry. So what's your approach to hiring the right talent?
Pay them well. Like there's literally nothing. There's no secret behind it. Like a lot of people that I've spoke to in the past are like, hey, I've got high, not just churn rate of clients, but I've got a high churn rate of staff. And I'm like, well, when was the last time you gave them a salary bump? Like, oh yeah, 2 years ago. Well, yeah, that's probably why you're losing staff. The ultimate thing is like if you're trying to hire the best, it comes with a price. Now, we've kind of went with the opposite approach. We hire the worst and we train them. So we in the UK anyway, like we found that there's a lot of people that like don't believe in link building, or they've read a couple blogs and stuff and they're like, oh, link building's illegal. You can't build links. So like we call them like SEOs with baggage. So we don't hire like SEOs with previous experience. We like to hire apprentices and train them up.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because, like, now again, this might not be for everyone, and I completely understand, right? But we've got really good training. I'm well connected with a lot of people in the industry. So, for example, one of the main reasons why this works for our companies is because I've got the masterminders. If I have issue with content, for example, I can speak to Corey. If I have an issue with technical SEO, I can speak to guys like Peter Rota. If I've got issues with link building, for example, I could speak to guys like Carl, right? And I could train my staff up based off of what the best in the industry are basically doing. That's not for everyone, I understand that, but that's what we've done. So it allows us to get like apprentices for like 12 to 15,000 a month, not a month, 12 to 15,000 pound a year for the first year, and the government gives us like some money back. So we go down that route, and then our staff seem to be like a lot sticky. So like we give them a lot of incentives. They are able to run their own projects, hire their own staff. Like we almost see like the UK staff as being like middle managers. So they end up like being a middle manager for like 10 VAs, for example. So we've got that set up. So they almost kind of run their own kind of lane type thing.
Okay.
Now that works for us. But if you're trying to hire like the best of the best, like for example, if you're trying to hire like the head SEO at one of your competitors' agencies, for example, and if you're not matching the salary, or if you're not giving at least 15% more for them to move over, then yeah, you're going to have a hard time hiring.
Right. Now, you have also often spoken about the importance of outsourcing. So can you share approach to building and managing remote teams effectively or efficiently?
So the most efficient, so I've got like a team that does like my videos, and they also do like my graphic design and stuff like that. So like I've got 2 social managers, and I've got 2 graphic designers, 2 video editors. So a 6-person team run not just my channel, but like maybe like 6 different channels. And the biggest thing for me especially is finding like a manager in that country. So like I've got VAs in Philippines, I've got VAs in India, I've got VAs in Vietnam, South Africa, and also South America as well. Like literally on every single time zone, I feel like I've got somebody, and it's not intentionally I've done that, but just different businesses, different VAs and stuff. But having like a manager that is from that country helps so much, because there's like certain holidays that they have that I just don't get. Like for example, the past week, my Vietnamese team have been off on the Chinese Lunar New Year, and I would have just never known that. Like I would have just thought like we've only got Christmas, right? But there's like there's just different like there's different Christmases, there's different breaks. Like there's surely like a different break in India, for example, right? So like again, like I'm not being I'm not being arrogant. Maybe I'm just a little bit naive and thinking like we've only got the one set of holidays, and that's the UK holidays. But it's definitely not the case. So having somebody like that's just a manager that's like just able to like communicate that with me and be like, hey, the Indian team, they're not going to be able to work on the days of like 5th of April to the 10th of April because they've got XYZ festival happening. I'm like, okay, brilliant. That's totally fine. But then there's also certain things like, for example, in the UK, we've got like Christmas that comes up and like New Year's, and usually staff want like a bonus or like a salary increase or whatever. There's certain things like that that we do for even our VAs, for example, to keep them happy. But again, it comes to like different timings of the year, for example. So just having like a manager in like all of the regions helps a lot because they just keep you up to date with like certain holidays and like who's off sick and stuff like that. That's probably the biggest thing that I would recommend to anyone hiring overseas.
Okay. Now, can SEO business be fully automated, or does human expertise will still play a role? And how much have you automated your SEO business?
I would love to say that I've automated the entire business and I just don't need any staff and I can go and chill on a beach, but it's not the case, unfortunately, not yet anyway.
Yeah, not yet.
Like there's a lot of things that have been automated. Like for example, being able to split test different emails for the outreach process, we've been able to automate that. Being able to automate certain customer support queries, like just by having certain trigger keywords and like chat pop-ups and stuff like that. So there's certain things like that we've been able to automate. I do think that when it comes to mundane, repeatable tasks, we've been able to like automate a lot of that. But there's still a lot of things that we still have like human interaction with. Like, for example, 2-3 years ago, if I was on a podcast, I was very against AI content. I was like, it's never gonna work. It's gonna you don't even waste time on it. But now I'm like, actually, do you know what? AI content does work because there's a lot more research that goes into it. It can get more data points than like our previous content writers could. It can write a way better content brief, and it's a lot faster. Does that mean that I'm just going to copy and paste an AI article onto a website? Definitely not. I still have like that human input because AI makes mistakes all the time. So there's certain things like that we've been able to automate, but there's still like that human interaction. Hopefully in like a year's time, I'll jump on this podcast again. You ask me the exact same question. I say, yeah, I've been able to fire all my staff and I just press one button every morning and it does all the SEO. But as of right now, we're still not there yet.
All right. Now, if someone is starting an SEO agency from scratch today, what will be your number one piece of advice besides not starting?
Get yourself out there. Like get a couple case studies, start talking about them, start reaching out to people, and start building a personal brand, or maybe not a personal brand, but just start building a brand. That I think that's probably the best way to go about scaling out an SEO business. Like a lot of people, they worry about logos and they worry about website colors, and like I want to say the first like 10 clients that I acquired for my agency, I didn't even have a website. So, I mean, it just goes to show you, like, just focus on the right things. Like, nobody gives a fuck about your logo. Nobody cares about your website. Nobody, like, if you can pitch somebody, and if you know people's pain points, and if you can sell that person more leads, more sales for their e-com store, more whatever the thing is that you're selling, right? Maybe it's PPC. If you can do that, then you can actually scale out an agency and you shouldn't even really worry about your logo or your website and stuff like that. Actually focus on things that push or generate you more revenue.
Okay. Now, Kasra, we all learn from our mistakes. So can you share with us a personal failure or a mistake that helped you grow as an
So I set up a PBN business about 7 years ago. And it was like a PBN / web design agency, right? At the start, it was meant to be like websites, and then I figured out like what PBN was and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, well, actually, I may as well do PBNs as well. It makes sense. So set this website up, spent weeks on this website and hours on the logo, stuff like that. And at that time, I thought I had to get the sales, build the website myself, write the content myself, and also deliver the website myself. I just didn't know anything about outsourcing and hiring and stuff like that. So that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that comes to mind. Like, I thought that almost like outsourcing or hiring staff or not doing the actual work yourself was cheating. I didn't think that it was actually a smart thing to do, which is like really crazy to say that. Because like, if you guys have been listening, like maybe about 20 minutes ago, I said I've not even logged into a WordPress website in the past 12 months, right? I've just got my team that does that. So being able to go from something that's very like, I need to do all of this myself to just hands-off approach. Like, I think that's where I've probably learned a lot of my mistakes.
All right, now, so you still got that PBN network up?
No, so this was actually like a service that I actually wanted to sell. Like it failed because I just had too many things on, but that was one of the things that comes to mind.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about networking and personal branding. So your network is your net worth. How has networking impacted your career?
Yeah, so about 5 or 6 years ago now, I actually went to a networking event held in Liverpool, which is like maybe 1 hour that way. And I met three mentors that I still speak to today, like 6 years, fast forward 6 years, and my business partner as well, just from that one event. So I basically went from like just being like a web developer to like being an like, again, this wasn't like overnight. This took 6 years in the making, right? But from that one event, I've been able to reach out to like guys like Craig Campbell, Gary Wilson, James Dooley, stuff like that. And I've literally went from like just being a web developer to being a entrepreneur, investing into SaaS businesses, investing into SEO agencies, investing into link building agencies, starting my own SEO conference. Again, not happened overnight, but being able to actually network with the right people and just ask them like, hey, like, where did you mess up? Like when you were my age, or where did you waste most of your money? Like when it comes to like advertising and stuff like that. Just being able to like ask the right questions to the right people that are like happy to like just be an open book is really important, I feel, when it comes to like, especially like if you're, a lot of people think they can do everything themselves, and it's not the case. Like a lot of people think they can do SEO, PPC, write content, build links, onboard clients, sell SEO, right? It's like, well, that's like 7 or 8 different people's jobs that you're doing, right? So unless you're like a superhuman, maybe you've got like the Elon Musk chip in your brain or something, right? You're not going to be able to do all of that. So being able to just speak to the right people, maybe they outsource their sales process to someone and you can hire that person to do outreach for you, or whatever the case is, right? Being able to like just speak to the right people, be in the right rooms, I think it's probably like the single-handedly biggest thing when it comes to growth in business and also just in SEO for myself.
Okay. Now, what other are the biggest benefits of attending SEO conferences and masterminds?
So when it comes to like masterminds for myself personally, you're able to like speak to people and actually ask questions. Like it's very hard for you to like ask like a very long-winded question or ask multiple questions to somebody that's on stage, for example. But if you're like attending a mastermind, for example, being able to like be like, hey, you mentioned these 5 things in your talk. Can you expand on these 5 things? And then they'll expand. Then you might go back with another question. You might go back with another question, right? sometimes like you just don't have the time to do that in front of an audience, especially if you're in the audience and somebody's maybe got like 5 minutes to answer questions, which is typically like what a lot of our speakers have and stuff. But if you're actually able to like get them in a mastermind, like a 5 or 6 person mastermind, you're able to just pinpoint like the questions and really dive in. Like in some cases, like even at the masterminders, and we had one in Chiang Mai, and we also had one in Vietnam last year. There were people like coming up to like guys like Corey, for example, or guys like myself with a laptop, and they're like, "Hey, what you've explained on your talk 2 days ago, what would you do for this website?" And then like I could show them like the link building strategy, or what if it was Corey, he could talk about his semantic SEO and stuff like that. So there's a lot more time and effort into like going into masterminds, but conferences is like really good when it comes to like just taking notes and being able to like just keep up to date with like the latest algorithm trends, what's working, what's not. Like the all the speakers that I've picked for the conference at the Masterminders, they're all just testing the actual algorithm. They're daily testing. They're able to like say like, this is working because I've tested it on these 25 websites. You need to start implementing this into your SEO strategy.
Okay, now can you share some tips for effective networking, especially for introverts or those who are new to the industry?
So I would always say like, don't be an introvert. And I know that's really hard for somebody that is obviously introverted. Maybe they just don't have social skills. But like even guys like myself, right? I was never this confident 5-6 years ago, but I still was able to go up to somebody and start speaking to someone about SEO, about business, about whatever the case is, even if I just didn't know that much about business or SEO and stuff like that. So that's always a good thing. If you're still scared to do that, this might be like more of a British thing, but go and buy somebody a drink. Like, yeah, I can guarantee anybody on that speaker lineup for like the masterminders, for example, if you were to go and buy them a drink, it doesn't even need to be alcoholic. Just like even if it's like a Diet Coke, for example. Like I know guys like Craig, for example, he doesn't drink anymore. Right. But even if you were to go and buy Craig, for example, a drink, right, and you were to be like, "Hey, really appreciated your talk. Here's your Diet Coke, or here's your Coke. Can you talk to me about link building for 5 minutes? I've got this real major issue," right? I can guarantee you if you do that, he will open up. He'll be like, "Yep, no worries. Show me your laptop, show me your website." He will go to town and try and help you out. Like it's not like a magic science. Just try to be extroverted, I suppose.
Okay. That's a good advice. I hope introvert listening should.
I really hope that like there's not like a load of people that buy me loads of drinks at the next conference, because I've stopped. Like I don't drink, so just bear that in mind. The best thing that you could probably do is just make me a cup of tea. That's like, just come to me, approach me with a cup of tea, and I will. You've got my time.
All right. Now you are also a mentor with Odys Global. So what inspired you to become a mentor, and what do you find most rewarding about it?
So yeah, like funny story, right? Very, very quickly. I met Alex Drew probably for the first time in person. Like I've been speaking to him for like maybe 5 years now, just over Skype and stuff like that. Like I used to buy domains from Alex when he was first on Skype, not even when he had like Odys and stuff. But I met Alex maybe like 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago now, in person for the first time. And I don't know why, but there was a lot of people like that were saying like, Alex is actually a woman, right? Like there was this like misconception, that this slight lie. And I was like, is Alex a woman? I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Nobody's ever seen Alex as well. Like he at one point just never had like a profile picture. So it was like, well, maybe he is a woman. I don't know. So yeah, I met him in person in York for the very first time. Really nice guy. He's one of the people. You've met him before as well, right?
Yes.
He, I think you would agree with me in saying this. He will try to help anyone. Even if he might not know the answer, he'll try and connect that person with somebody that might know the answer. And I really have time for Alex. So I met him, I kicked off with him very well. We've got a very similar business mindset as well when it comes to like running a business. And so like we were just chatting for maybe like 40 minutes for the first time, talking about business and stuff. And then there was I think he might have just like approached me and he was like, hey, we're running this mentorship program, are you interested? And I was like, well, yeah, like if I can do anything to help Alex, I know that maybe not today, maybe not right now this second, Alex might not have anything to help me, but he might be able to help me in other ways. He might be able to connect me to somebody further down the line. So it was kind of like again, this kind of comes back to like your networking question as well, right? A lot of people, when they ask for something, they want something in return this second. Right? So it's like, hey, I'll give you this remote control, right? You give me something in return. And it's like, well, yes, you could do that, but in some cases, I might not get something from you for like the next 2 years. Like you might I don't know, you might message me in a year's time. You're like, hey, I've just landed this huge SEO client in the UK. Can you help me out? Right. And I'll be like, yeah, sure. Why not? Right. So that's the power of networking. It's not always about like, hey, I'll give you this remote, you give me this can of Coke back in return, right? So it's kind of like a revolving door. It's always just going round and round and round. So yeah, like I've helped Alex when it comes to like gaining new clients and stuff like that. Like there's been so many people where they're like, hey, like I want to build out a website, but I don't want to build it from scratch. And I'm like, yeah, you just need to speak to Alex, for example. And he's also helped me in other ways as well. So it's always kind of just been that revolving door. But when it came to me about the mentorship program, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like I know everything to do with like expired domains, traffic, age domains, building out affiliate sites, building out e-com sites, building out lead gen sites. So he's got this customer base that want to get into SEO. They might not fully understand like GMBs, local landing pages, schema and stuff like that. But they know that they need a domain. So some cases, like somebody might go and buy an age domain from Odys. They're like, right, brilliant. It's a DR60 website. I've bought it for $2,000. What do I do with this? And then they might jump on a call with me, and I might give them like 3 different suggestions. I might say like, hey, have you thought about building an e-com store? Have you thought about building a rank and rent site? Have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And then that's when it's just that revolving door. Like, yeah, it just works very well.
Right. Now, many SEO professionals struggle with personal branding. So what advice would you give them to have their personal branding done?
Just do it. Like again, like I mentioned this in the networking question, and I said like don't be an introvert, but a lot of like SEOs are introverted. Like they don't like speaking to people. They're not confident on camera. At one point, I was like that. And the best piece of advice that I would probably give, and this was like something that Julian Goldie actually told me about, and it's like just keep uploading. Like if you upload, I think I uploaded like maybe 340 videos last year, right? 340, 350 videos. If you were to go back to like my first videos, they were terrible. If you were to go to like the videos that I uploaded in December, for example, they were way better. If you go to the videos that I uploaded yesterday, they're even better. So it's all about like just practicing. And a lot of people like they think they need like a really nice camera or like a really nice webcam. Like to be fair, I actually do have a really nice camera and a really nice webcam, but that's besides the point, right? Like you do not need like a £600 camera. You do not need like a nice microphone. Like this microphone is, I think it's like 250, £300. You could get the exact same quality with a microphone at like $40. You can get the exact same quality of a camera at $40. So don't just think you need the best gear. Like how I say it is like just start, And then if you think you need like a better camera, set yourself a goal of saying like, okay, once I upload 50 videos, I'm going to upgrade my camera. Once I upload maybe 75 videos, I'm going to upgrade my microphone. That's the mindset that I have when it comes to like upgrading stuff. Because again, like funny story, like I went and bought a camera and like a nice lens, like it was a DSLR, it was a Sony camera. And it was like it came to like £3,500, right? There's
Wow.
this camera set up, and I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Got this camera, right? And it came, and I'm really excited to use this. I don't know I don't know if you know anything about DSLRs, but I know absolutely nothing, right? So exactly right. So I opened this camera and I'm really excited to start opening it, start playing around with it and stuff. And I screw on the lens, start playing around with it, turn it on. I'm like, this camera quality is so bad. Like, honestly, it was worse than the webcam that I'm using right now. I ended up refunding it, and I was like, that was the biggest waste of like, I literally spent like 2 full days like going through different settings, different lights, everything. And I was like, that's the last time I'm going to be using. I did end up buying a DSLR like maybe a month later. But I don't know why. Just that camera didn't make any sense. It was just a big waste of time. I much prefer just using a webcam, a camera, and just a regular microphone, and just upload.
Right. Now, if someone is looking for a mentor in SEO or digital marketing, what should they look for, and how should they approach the potential mentors?
So I would always look to see like what experience that mentor's got. So for example, have they got sales experience? If they've got sales experience, probably speak to guys like Stephen Canna. If they are looking for like more of a holistic SEO approach, right? Like I've done it all. Speak to somebody like myself, speak to somebody like James, for example. Like try and speak to people that obviously make sense. Like it's kind of like picking a fitness trainer at the gym, right? You've got some guys that are like absolutely huge. They're like maybe like 150 kilograms. They look like a wall, right? It's like, well, is that what you want to look like? If that's what you want to look like, that's fine, by the way. Like that's totally fine.
Right.
But if you want to like look like somebody like The Rock, for example, go and find somebody like The Rock. If you want to look like somebody like, I don't know, maybe a little bit skinner, a little bit thinner, go and find somebody like that. That's what I always say. Like, go and find somebody that's actually done it and try to resonate. It's also very similar when it comes to networking as well. Like, when it comes to like picking mentors and like being in the right rooms and stuff like that, try to find people that are like maybe a couple steps ahead of you that have done it. Like there was a very interesting question I got recently asked, and they said like, if you could pick 2 people that you could talk to for like an hour each, who would they be? And I don't know who I said, right? But the follow-up answer is, oh, why did you not pick Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, right? And it's like, well, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are so much richer than me, right? It just wouldn't make sense for me to talk to them, because they're going to be like, yeah, just go and invest like £16 million or 150 million in XYZ and you're going to get a 5% return. And I'm like, well, I don't have 150 million. So it's like, there's no point talking to somebody like that, right? So try and find people that are like a couple steps ahead of you that have done what you're trying to achieve, and just like connect with them. That's what I would recommend.
Now, what's the best investment you have ever made in your career besides returning that DSLR?
The best investment that I ever made. So the boring answer is probably a phone and a laptop, right? But I'm not going to use that because I feel like that's a cop-out answer. But the best investment was the actual meetup, the mastermind that I went to like 5 or 6 years ago. And the thing is, like, it wasn't even like that expensive. So it was literally like the trip of me traveling to the actual place and like the ticket price. So it was like, I don't know how much it was, maybe a couple £100. That was probably like the best investment that I would say that I've made. But then like there's been other things that I've done as well. Like, for example, do you know what I would probably say every time I've done like networking events and been speaking to the right people and stuff, I would probably say they're probably the best investments.
Okay. Now, can you share a memorable networking experience that actually led to a big business breakthrough?
So I feel like I've already spoke about this like previously or like in this podcast, but I'll speak about another one. So about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we went to a place called Jersey, which is like a small little island off of UK for a mastermind. And that's where I initially met Carl, I believe. And like at the time, Carl had like a link building agency and stuff like that. So like we were like speaking to him then. And then like fast forward like maybe 3 years after that, or two, maybe not 3 years, maybe like 2 years after that, we were able to actually buy a percentage of the link building agency. So again, talking about that revolving door, it's never just like a here's a remote, what are you going to give me back type thing. So it's like, yeah, so sometimes like you go to these networking events and you think nothing comes from it, but you fast forward maybe 5 years later and you're like, oh yeah, well actually, if I didn't go to that networking event, I would have never met these 15 people. Right. So, yeah.
Okay. So with this, we come to the last leg of our show, which is the rapid fire round. So I'm just going to ask you a question. You have to answer what first comes in your mind, right? Okay. All right. So one SEO tool you can't live without.
ChatGPT.
Okay. Best book you have ever read recently?
Advanced SEO Tips 2025 by myself and James.
I think we just recently launched, right?
Yep.
Okay. Biggest SEO mistake beginners make?
Setting a website live, but it's still set as no index by search engines.
Okay. And biggest SEO mistake you have made?
That's the biggest SEO mistake that I've made. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. One website besides Google you visit daily?
YouTube.
Okay. I thought you'll say ChatGPT. Okay.
Well, I think YouTube's probably more visited. Like I probably visit both on a daily basis, but I would say YouTube.
Right. Okay. If you weren't in SEO, what would you be doing?
I would be some form of marketing. Maybe not SEO, maybe PPC, maybe web design, content marketing, something.
Okay. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
So this wouldn't actually be any business advice. I would just go back to my maybe 13-year-old self, or actually maybe like 12-year-old self, and say to him, go to the gym, like consistently.
Build some muscles.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next for Kasra Dash?
What is next for Kasra? I want to... Obviously, I want to set up like a really good SEO conference in the UK. I think that's one thing that's like really surprising to me is that we don't have like a really good SEO conference in the UK. And I know that like we've got like the likes of Brighton SEO and stuff like that, but like a proper like something to like rival Chiang Mai and like the best of the best out there. So that's what I'm aiming for. I also want to like scale out the masterminders, but then there's also other things as well. So like from businesses, I want to scale out Search Route. I want to scale out the SEO agency. I want to scale out the ranking rent agency. That's the business side of stuff. I also want to spend more time on a beach. Like there's going to be some way that I'm going to need to juggle all of these things, but being able to like have like a work-life integration is really important for me. And so being able to actually doing both, scaling out the business side of stuff, but also scaling out experiences, both are equally as important for myself.
Okay. Now, Kasra, this has been an absolute masterclass in SEO, business, and networking. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And
Thank you
where
for having
can
me.
listeners follow you and learn more about what you are working on?
So you can either follow me, like literally just search my name, Kasra Dash, or if you're in the UK and you want to attend the conference, head over to themasterminders.com.
Okay. And to our audience, if you find value in today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share this with your fellow marketers. See you next time on the Agency Insider Show. Thank you. Thank you, Kasra.
Thanks.